Hi, Jewish Mom. This past Shabbat, we had a really special Shabbat guest. Um, it was somebody who we found out was a soldier in one of the Israel Defense Forces most elite units, and he and at one point in his service, about a year and a half ago, he was injured, and as a result, he had to leave. He had to leave his elite unit. He could no longer, he was no longer physically well enough to be like what you call a foot soldier, kravi, and just became like a regular soldier. And since then, he's done different medical treatments, and he suffers from chronic pain. And this young man, this soldier, he has another week in his service in the army. He was just such a sweetie, and such a mensch. And I just found it so heartbreaking. This story was just so heartbreaking to see, to see the self-sacrifice of these young men, of what they're doing to protect me and my family and all the people living in Israel. I have a friend, and she has a bunch of sons who served in the army. And she said once she went to the military base, and she said how shocking it was to go to this base and realize, like, wow, our country is standing on the shoulders of 18-year-old boys. It's really true. And seeing this boy, this young man, and now his current struggles as a result of that self-sacrifice in military service, it was really heartbreaking for me. In fact, it was something I was feeling really down about it for all of Shabbat. I was thinking about this soldier, and I know, like Rabbi Niven, my teacher, he always says that when you're feeling disempowered, when you're feeling like, and so the disempowering thoughts I was thinking were things like, life is so unfair. It's all so unfair. It's so terrible. Life can be so terrible. Where is God? Like, this is just so terrible. And so my teacher, Rabbi Niven, I've told you in the past that when you're feeling disempowered by various encounters you have in life, you need to remind yourself that it says in the Torah, it says Torah Hashem Meshivat Nafesh, that the Torah of Hashem, it restores the spirit. So if you're feeling something, if you're thinking something which is the opposite of restoring your spirit, which is in fact destroying and disempowering your spirit, then it means 100% that there's something off, something corrupted in what you're thinking. So I've been rethinking, how I've been thinking about this young man, um, and um, and so I wanted to just tell like a few ideas. And the reason I'm talking about this, even though like none of us, I assume, are injured soldiers or soldiers at all, um, is because it's just like an overall way of thinking, kind of analyzing the ways in which we think about nisyonot, how we think about life's challenges overall. Because even though you're not an injured soldier and I'm not an injured soldier, all of us experience nisyonot, all of us experience life challenges, and how are we going to receive them? How are we going to see them? How are we going to perceive them? Okay, so I just wanted to tell you, first of all, I'm quoting from the book I told you about, this book, The Rebbe, which I really enjoyed, by Rabbi Joseph Telushkin. So he talked. First of all, this is a tangent, but the Rebbe's attitude towards Israeli soldiers. So he talked about, in the aftermath of the 6-Day War. He spoke about the soldiers' bravery, and of quote, the advantage and greatness of those who go out to war to protect the Jewish people over those who study Torah. Okay, so just knowing like the greatness of these young men who are going out and protecting us, and to protect the Jewish people. But there was an interesting thing specifically related to injured soldiers. So a group, I think after the Yom Kippur War, a group of injured soldiers visited America. And the Rebbe requested a special audience with them. And so in Hebrew, the injured soldiers are called Nechei Tzahal, the injured of Tzahal, the handicapped of Tzahal. Okay, and so the Rebbe said, I do not let, when he met with these soldiers, he told them how much admiration he had for them, for their bravery and for their self-sacrifice to protect the Jewish people. And he said, he said, and I want to just tell you that I do not like this term, the handicapped of Tzahal. The handicapped of Tzahal makes you think of people who are kind of on a lower level or inferior to others. But the way that I see you is that people, you have been given a big challenge. And I think that, and people who've been given a great challenge, God gives them extra strength and extra abilities to deal with the challenges which they are given. I think I want to call you the Metsuyanim of Tzahal, the excellent ones of Tzahal, right? Because which is really exceptional. Again, like it's not only you can look at the idea of soldiers, that people who, but just to expand this idea, that people who are given a nisayon, people are given a very big challenge, or even people are given challenges in life. It's that they are the mitzuyanim shel ha'chaim. They're like the excellent ones of life. God gives us. We know that we're not given in life any challenges that we can't handle. It means that God gives us, when we're given an extra challenge, it means that God gives us this extra strength, this extra ability to face the challenges that we're given. A few years ago, when I was kind of coping with the whole pedophile crisis in my old neighborhood, Nachlaot, so I spoke with I sought out the advice of a woman I admire a great deal, and I wanted to know what she thought about like all these, how I was supposed to cope with all these pedophiles, with all these child molesters living around my neighborhood, some of them going to jail, and a lot of them not. And she told me something very, very surprising. She said that I asked her what she thought, and she said, well, I'll tell you the truth. She said, my son, it turned out, was molesting children in our community, in my community. And she said, and she just went and told me this whole terrible story, how it turned out that her own son had been molesting children, and he became so upset that in the end he almost committed suicide. He felt so terribly about what he had done. And she told me that her husband said something very interesting. Her husband, she told me, said, and she said also, like, the crisis that they had gone through as parents of a child molester, and how upsetting it had been for them. I mean, they're such amazing people, such people who, are the opposite of someone who'd be the parents of a child molester. And she said that her husband just shook his head and said, wow, Hashem must think that we are amazing. Hashem must just think that we are just the most amazing people if he gave us this challenge. He must think that we're much more amazing and have much more capabilities than we could possibly imagine. So, I mean, it's incredible, like, that God gave them a real whopper of a nisayon. Shalom, may none of us ever have to face that kind of challenge, that kind of life challenge. But they saw it again, like the Rebbe said, like anashim mitzuyanim, like the people who have challenges are people with special abilities. I also, a long time ago, maybe about 15 years ago, Rabbanit Yemima Mizrahi, I actually know her. We were friends before she was Rabbanit Yemima. Our kids, our 18-year-olds, Hadass and her son Ben Sion, they went to Gan together many, many, many years ago, maybe 17, 16 years ago. And I remember one day, and we were friends from that. We were friends from just, Gan pickup and Gan, taking home. And one time, someone that we knew, a mother that we was a friend of both of ours, she had a miscarriage, And I said to Rabbini Imima, I said, wow, is a miskina. What a poor person. What a miskina. What a pitiful, poor person. And then Rabbini Imima said something I will never forget. She said, he gibwa. He lo miskina. He gibwa. She's not a poor person. She's not a pitiful person. She's a gibwa. She's a heroine. And like that the way that she's coping with what she went through and dealing with this challenge, she's a heroine by dealing with it, not a sad, pitiful person. And that really got to me. Like, I think that my natural instinct is always to think of people going through nisyona, people going through serious life challenges. I always think of them, oh, poor so-and-so and poor so-and-so. It is very sad. And it's very sad to see people who are going through these things. It's very sad when we have to go through them as well. And sad to see other people going through these nisyonot. But I think, like, all of these vignettes, all these like little anecdotes that I've told you, it's presenting a different approach, a whole different approach to life challenges. You know, that people who are going through life challenges, they're not necessarily miskinim. They're not necessarily, oh, poor so and so and poor so and so. That I think a more Jewish way of seeing this, a more Jewish way of seeing nisyonot, is seeing the abilities, is seeing the special amazingness of a person who's going and who withstands a nisayon. Um, so I just want to say, in conclusion, that I was talking about this injured soldier that I met. And you know, when we see people who've been through nisyonot, you know, we think of them as, like, we could think of them or think of ourselves as miskinim, like, oh, poor me, why me, why do I have to deal with this? Why didn't it happen to her or him or anyone? Why is it happening to me? Like, why? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? And the Rebbe and these various other people I spoke with, Rebbe Imima and this other person I admire a great deal, they presented with me a different way of seeing it. Not that miskinim, not poor so-and-so, but to see the heroism in coping and dealing and struggling with nisyonot. So I want to bless us all that we shouldn't have nisyonot, but if we do have nisyonot, or the people around us have nisyonot, that we should see it in a way not as miskinim, but not as like, oh, poor so and so or poor me, but seeing, like, the heroism in it, seeing the amazingness of me and of you by struggling day by day and dealing with the nisyonot with which we are presented. And bless all of you with an amazing week.